Welcome to Morning Message for July the 6th. Well, it's been 7 whole days since we last posted one of these morning messages, and don't read anything into that particularly. On last Thursday it was Canada Day, and that meant I should have had the whole day to prepare one of these things, but instead one of my daughters was moving into an apartment, and so that's how I was busy that day. Was moving couches and beds and dressers and boxes and boxes and boxes. So that was how my Canada Day was spent. And the other one would have been on Saturday, and all I can think of on Saturday was I was busy with trying to catch up with the things I had missed that week, plus I had a couple of meetings. So I didn't post one Saturday. So my apologies with regards to that. So I'm going to post one today. But this will be the last one for about a week or so. Tomorrow, after a funeral, I'm going to begin a week's worth of holidays. So that's what will be happening in the next week, and why you might not see a morning message. When we began these things over a year ago, I think the idea was that there'd be one every morning, a lighthearted story followed with some sort of meaning that I drew out of those things. And I think we kind of imagined that everybody was on lockdown, everyone was at home, and nobody had anything better to do than to watch an 8-minute video from me each morning. Well, as the pandemic stretched out much longer than we thought it would, we made the morning message just 3 days a week rather than every day. And I think we're getting now to the point where we're moving out of the pandemic. Some of the restrictions are starting to ease, and with vaccination rates and low case counts, things might be very different by the time September or October rolls around for us. So rather than just cutting out the morning messages altogether, we might try to revision what these things are all about. So that's not going to happen right away, but I want to sort of engage some people in the parish to find out how they think these morning messages should go into the future. But if you don't see me for the next week or so, it's because I'm taking a break, and looking forward to that as well. Now, last night I went to Dear Rita. That's a stage play, a kind of a musical story stage play thing about Rita McNeil. And it was at the Conference Center, and I must say, if you don't already have tickets, it's worth it. If you know anything about Rita at all, it's really quite a good and touching play, and the musicianship of the performers is absolutely wonderful. It was certainly worth my while. I got to see Rita McNeil in concert when I was living in Toronto. And of course, I tell people that when I lived outside of the Maritimes and I was living in Toronto, I became more of a Maritimer. And Rita McNeil was kind of at the height of her career when I was living there. And her music became very important to me, much more important there than it was to me when I was living in the Maritimes. But I certainly enjoy her music, and I know people who perhaps traveled in the car with me might have heard The Clash, London Calling, or something like that, followed by Rita McNeil. I don't see anything really different in those kinds of music. Of course, what they're really trying to do, what I think the best of what music tries to do, is to give expression to the self. It could be just the music, it could be the words, it could be a combination of those things. But that's really what the play is about. Dear Rita is really about Rita's discovery of her voice, her opinion, herself, and finding ways to express that. And that's kind of, I think, the journey for all people, is to find a way to express ourselves. We often find ourselves in the situation where people judge us. People want us to be like them. People want us to act like them and vote like them and laugh like them and all that sort of thing. But we don't all have the same opinions. We're a diverse race of people, and that's a wonderful thing. I don't think it's a cliche to say that that's where our strength is, in that diversity. Where would we be if we were all just engineers? Or where would we be if we were all just clergy? We need a whole variety of people in order to make this human race function in a good and healthy way. And I think it would be incumbent upon all of us to begin to recognize that more fully. That one person's art is a wonderful expression of who they are, and I don't need to judge that. I always find things like the Academy Awards or something like that very strange. Why don't they just give it to the movie or whatever that made the most money? I mean, there's no real way to determine whether or not one piece of art is more beautiful or whatever than another piece of art. And when I'm talking about art, I'm really talking about us, that our lives are a kind of artwork, and we should try and find a voice, a way to express that. It's a healthy thing for us to do. But what isn't healthy is for us to judge one another's expression as being too noisy or too loud or not loud enough or too colorful or too dark or something like that. It's really not, it's really creating opportunity for all of us to express ourselves in ways that are helpful to us and helpful to humanity. In fact, I think that's probably the only way I would judge an art piece, is whether or not it is it helps not only the expression of that particular individual, but does it do any harm? We don't want art, at least I don't want art that harms others. And I think Dear Rita, that play that's on at the Confed Center is a wonderful story about how somebody came to find their voice and to express that voice in ways that was tremendously meaningful to an awful lot of people. And that voice, that creative part, is inside each and every one of us. And we mustn't limit our idea of art to being singing or painting or something like that. Architects, engineers, carpenters, accountants. I mean, we all have skills and abilities that can be expressed in a whole variety of ways, and they should all be held up as ways for us to express ourselves in ways that is truly helpful to the human race. That's my hope and prayer for all of us, that we find ways to truly and helpfully express who we are through some form of art, and art in the broadest possible sense. God bless. Amen. And see you in about a week and a half.